Hi folks, Pete Lane. Welcome to another iPhone 101 demonstration from Blind Abilities. In today's episode, we'll be tackling lists. Yes, lists. So what do you mean by this, Pete? You may be asking yourself. Great question. Have you ever found yourself in your native Mail app and you flick down through your inbox and you're flicking. Sometimes you're disposing of messages using the delete gesture. Sometimes you're reading the message and then closing the email and continuing to flick down the list, farther down the list. It seems endless. And then you've gone through all of your fresh emails, but now you're corralled. You're stuck way down deep in this list. So how do I get back to the top, you may be asking? Another good question. Let me demonstrate a couple of options, but first, I want to go into my Mail app.
Inbox, edit, search field.
And here I am at the top. I'm in my Gmail account. So let me flick down the list so I can try to recreate the situation that I just described. So I'll continue to flick to the right.
Gmail, back button. Dictate button.
Just past the dictate button is the most recent email that has come into my inbox.
Unread. Some say Reaper is better.
Now I have deleted the name of the sender to protect their privacy, but you hear the subject, and it deals with Amadeus Pro versus Reaper, both of which are audio editing programs, and I'll flick to the next one.
Replied. Apple AirTags, IBUG Today, IBUG Mini Buzz, Pete Lane, Amadeus Pro.
These, again, are the most recent emails, and they stand at the very top of my inbox, my list. So now let me go down into the list, and I can do so by flicking from left to right.
Replied, Rick, bring it on home. Pete Lane, 2019 tax return notes.
I can also go down the list by using a 3-finger swipe up to go down the list. So let me do a 3-finger swipe up a few times and listen to the numbers, the page numbers as I do so. VoiceOver is telling me that I'm going farther and farther down into the list.
Page 4 of 17, page 5 of 17, page 6 of 17, page 7 of 17, page 8 of 17.
Okay, let's stop here and we'll see what email I land on and the date that it came into my inbox.
Miller's Ale House registered 1/28/21.
So here I am now. I am done reviewing my inbox and I want to get back to the top of the list. So what options do we have? Right answer. Flick from right to left and go back up the list one email at a time. But as you may guess, I'm probably 25, 30 emails down, and that will take me a while if I flick one email at a time. My second option will once again be the 3-finger swipe. However, instead of swiping up to go down the list, I'll swipe down with 3 fingers to go back up the list. Let's give it a try.
Page 7 of 18, page 6 of 18, page 5 of 18.
But here again, you may have noticed we're going painfully slow, and it'll take a while for me to get back to the top of my list. A third option is to use one of my favorite gestures, the 4-finger single tap. If we do a 4-finger single tap on the top half of the screen, like this,
Gmail, back button.
that takes me to the uppermost element on the top left corner of my screen. And as you heard, VoiceOver says Gmail. I'll flick to the right.
Search field. Dictate button.
And I'm going past search and dictation. Now, if I were at the top of the list, remember that most recent email was the subject Amadeus Pro and Reaper. So let's flick and see if I'm there.
Pete Lane, FWD, Pete Lane, appointment, info@netherlands.com.
And I am not. I'm still way down in the depths of my list. So that gesture does not work. So Pete, you say, how do I get back to the top? I'm getting claustrophobic being stuck way down in this list. Good question. There are 2 options that seem to work, one of which is limited to apps and lists and screens that have a scroll bar. Let me show you what I mean. There is what we call a vertical scroll bar in the inbox of my Mail app. So I'll use my 4-finger single tap at the bottom of the screen.
Drafts, 6 drafts in progress, button.
And then I will flick left. And we will listen for the scroll bar.
Compose, button. Toggle filtering, button. Vertical scroll bar, 17 pages, 44%, adjustable.
There it is. This was implemented by Apple to give us some quick options on navigating through lengthy lists. If you notice, it has a percentage, and that percentage reads
44%.
Okay, now logic tells me if I want to get to the top of the list, i.e. the beginning of my list, I want that percentage to go lower and ultimately down to 0. To do so, I will flick up until we hear the percentage reach 0.
34%, 24%, 14%, 4%, 0%.
Now let's go back up to the top with my 4-finger single tap at the top.
Gmail, back button.
There's our Gmail element. We'll flick right pretty quickly and we'll see what that first email is that I encounter. Is it the one with the subject line Amadeus and Reaper?
Unread. Some say Reaper is better.
Voila, we are there. Quick summary. For any apps that have a scroll bar at the bottom of your list, such as in the Mail app, we'll see it in the Messages app, that scroll bar will effectively get you back to the top of the list by reducing the percentage back down to 0. But there's another tip that I wanted to add. In any app where you prefer to use it rather than reaching for the scroll bar, or for those apps or lists where a scroll bar is not present, and there are many of those. So here's how we do that. First of all, we reach up to the very top of our screen, and this applies to any screen, regardless of what app we may be in, and we touch our voice-over focus in the status bar.
9:46 a.m.
Now, the status bar is the constant strip across the top of your screen that contains a variety of information, such as the time, cellular connection, Wi-Fi connection, and battery percentage. Your status bar may have additional items, such things as do not disturb mode and other possibilities. So what do you do once we're in the status bar, Pete? Good question. Well, our first action will be to do a single finger double tap, which I'll do right now. And listen carefully.
Page 1 of 19.
You heard VoiceOver say page 1. That tells me that it has moved its focus back towards the top of the list. Our next action will be to get our VoiceOver focus back onto the screen itself, because we're stuck in the status bar, and until we touch down in the body of the phone anywhere, we won't be on the screen where we want to be to see where we are in our list. So I will just touch with one finger right below the status bar.
Search field.
Now I need to go to the very top of this screen so I can test whether or not I'm at the top of my list. So once again, out comes my handy dandy 4-finger single tap at the top of the screen.
Gmail, back button.
There's my Gmail element. Let's flick right and see what that first email is that we encounter. Will it or will it not be Amadeus Pro versus Reaper? Flicking right.
Dictate, button, unread. Some say Reaper is better. Your thoughts? 7:21 a.m.
And there we have it. Amadeus Pro versus Reaper that came in this morning. Quick review. In addition to using the scroll bar at the bottom of the screen, there are another couple of gestures that will get you to the top of your list. First action, put your focus in the status bar at the top of your screen. Second action, perform a single finger double tap. Third gesture, pull your VoiceOver focus out of the status bar and onto your main screen with a single finger touch. Next action, 4-finger single tap at the top of the screen. Flick right and find out where you are in your list. So there's a quick review of a couple of options that will get you out of the deep, deep hole that is a list. Let's further test this by going to our Messages app.
Messages, one unread message.
There we go. I'll open my Messages app.
Messages, edit, button.
And once again, I'm faced with a list very similar to the inbox in my Mail app. So rather than walk you through all of this again, step by step, since we just did it in our Mail app, I'll jump right into my inbox in my Messages app, and I'll do several 3-finger swipes up to get down deeper into the list.
Page 3 of 10, page 4 of 10, page 5 of 10, page 6 of 10, page 7 of 10.
So once again, I can flick from right to left to go back up the list. That will be tedious and time consuming. Secondly, I can use my 3-finger swipe down to go back up the list. It's funny how that works. But again, that will be time consuming as well. Number 3, I can try my 4-finger touch at the top of the screen, but that gets us only to the point where we were deep down into the list. So those gestures are not very useful to me in a situation like this. So let's go to the bottom of the screen and look for the scroll bar. I'll use my 4-finger touch at the bottom of the screen, and I'll flick left until we find scroll bar.
Vertical scroll bar, 10 pages, 100% adjustable.
Our objective here is to get that percentage down to 0 by flicking up with one finger.
90%, 80%, 70%, 60%, 50%, 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%, 0%.
There we go. I'll go to the top of the screen with a 4-finger single tap.
Messages, heading, compose, button, search field, dictate, button.
Flick to the right.
Conversations, Dan, pin, Pat, pinned. Pat and Dan.
And there we are with our top messages in our list. And our final option, once again, let me get back down into the depths of the list, deeper and deeper.
Page 3 of 10, page 4 of 10, page 5 of 10, page 6 of 10, page 7 of 10.
Okay, there we are. Now I'll touch one finger in the status bar. You'll notice that it's identical to the status bar that appeared in my Mail app.
9:52 a.m. Cellular, 2 of 4, 97% battery power. Netgear 44, 3 of 3 Wi-Fi bars.
I'll perform a single finger double tap.
Netgear 40, page 1 of 40.
There we go. And then I'll bring my focus out of the status bar onto the main screen with a single finger touch.
Nick Dan Brojo, the actual video is on my Facebook wall. I just posted it 2 seconds ago.
Now I want to get to the top of this main screen. I'll use my 4-finger touch toward the top.
Messages, heading, compose, button, search field, dictate, button.
There we are. I'll flick to the right.
Conversations, Dan, Pat and Dan.
And once again, I'm at the top of my messages, the most recent of which are at the top of the list. So once again, let's review. Depending on which app or which particular set of screens you may be looking at, you could find yourself deep down into a list, whether it's a list in your inbox, in your mail app, in your messages app, in your Facebook app. It could apply in other apps as well. I've seen myself stuck way down into a list in other apps such as Dropbox, a podcast app, Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube. YouTube is a good example, and there is no scroll bar to save you. So the quickest way to get out of that list in the YouTube app would be to use your status bar trick. We hope that this has been helpful and meaningful and will save you at least a little bit of time down the road getting out of the depths of a list. This has been Pete Lane. Stay tuned for more episodes in our iPhone 101 series. And from all of us here at Blind Abilities, through these challenging times, to you, your family, and friends, stay well, stay informed, and stay strong. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations
and the
realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, Blind Abilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.